So I was going to the Front 242 concert, and I thought, oh well, it's the end of October, but hey, it's going to be like the trees are changing color, but you can still go then. But the problem is that it's a lot colder in the end of October, especially at nighttime, than I really thought. And although I could have gone in a really big coat, I didn't. I wanted to make it everything as easy as possible, so I took sort of a medium coat, and it kind of worked, but it was extremely cold, and it had an effect on my ability to really do function when I was there. And I decided that there was like 6 hours or something between when the concert was over and when the train was departing. And originally, I thought that at 5:30 was when I'd be able to get into the train station, but that kind of went down to 4. They let us in at 4, and it's situations I didn't really want. People don't appreciate you doing weird stuff like trying to not go to a hotel. That's basically what I was doing. I waffled on it a bit, but in the end, I decided not to take the LRT because it could break down. So I left myself 2 hours to get to the train station walking. It only took actually 50 minutes. I went over that overpass by the baseball stadium. So I loaded my phone full of all kinds of information that I needed, but I just thought I'd make it easy, and I immediately photographed what some big buildings when you get out of the train station. Just so basically, I had to just find these buildings that weren't obscured by other buildings, then I'd basically be able to get back. In fact, that's how I did get back. All you really have to do is just go towards all the tall buildings, and it's kind of like a little bit on the west side of that, I guess. And then you look for these buildings here, and then you can basically get back to the train station. So I decided that I was playing a dangerous game, but I decided I'd sort of enhance my mood if I just sort of had some drinks before, like way before this concert. It would just sort of make my day sort of better. So I sort of got this Sprite bottle, and you can see that it looks basically like it has Sprite, but it doesn't. So this would be a problem if anyone really investigated hardcore. But it looks like I'm just drinking Sprite, and it's like I put like 300 milliliters of vodka in there. And I was looking through the rules, and you can't drink alcohol on the train. But there's nothing. I went through all the rules. And I couldn't see anything that specifically said you can't bring it in some sort of container. So it's obvious that it was A, gonna rain, and two, really cold. But it's just a beautiful thing to be like almost freezing and raining at the same time. But what I did is I found somewhere discreet, and I just sort of started downing this stuff so that by the time the show came around, people wouldn't notice that anything was wrong. So that's the only time I wore this shirt that I actually got for St. Patrick's. But it's kind of a weird shirt that is kind of a special occasion shirt, and it wouldn't be really comfortable with it. But it was good for this application, so I'm glad I wore this shirt at least this time. So I remember this building's been there for a long time, since like the 90s, and I think it looks very kind of expressive. I guess it's sort of some sort of interpretation of a postmodern building that has something to do with like a Quebec point of view that I really don't understand, but you can kind of see there's something going on like that. So you see there's some development going on there, which is like way out of the scope of Ottawa. So I decided to bring as little as possible with me so that the more serious things became, the less I had to lose. So I brought like 200 something in cash, and I got my old phone. The problem with the old phone is I didn't want to switch the SIM cards around because they're pretty fragile. So it turned out it didn't really matter because you could still use Facebook Messenger with like all these free Wi-Fi's were all over the place. So it didn't really. You could still message people, but I couldn't really phone anyone. So it became immediately apparent that this 5C phone had the problem my 6S phone had, in that the battery was barely working, and it was just shutting down like very quickly. So I happened to have just a massive power bank I got off of Kijiji for a low price, and I was running it continuously, just strapped in, the two things strapped together, and it only used like 30% of the bank. So like I was worried I'd have to hook it into something to recharge it, but I mean it didn't even come close. It was totally cool. When the batteries get really messed up with those phones, they don't even turn on anymore. Like they want to be at a certain charge level before you can use them. So what's happened to my 6S is it just became impossible to use it. And I went to some place, and I can't remember what I paid, but it was very cheap to get it changed. And that is my primary internet modem, and it doesn't really leave here because it's so important to me. Okay, so here's some more of that downtown area. Picture of that downtown area. That's just some I don't know, shrubbery that's changing color that I found was kind of interesting. So I found this sort of discreet park, and like somebody's like walking a pit bull down there, and I saw, oh, here comes a pit bull. Better stay clear away from this pit bull. And the guy kind of figured out I was avoiding him, so he took off. So I didn't know when I was going to eat something, but originally I thought I was going to go to this Italian sandwich place, and I probably would have really liked that, but it was a long way away, and it was cold. So, like a lot of things I did for this trip, I just simplified. I guarantee the next step is going to work by just going to the next step without having to meet any time. So I've understood that basically the train station is south and let's see, west of the place I was going, which is more north. It's on the edge of that Montreal. So I somehow got lost into this McGill area, but I knew generally where I was going. It's all directions. So I was going up this park street. So I went to the theater and I asked him some questions, and I was like, I don't know, I can't remember. It was like a few hours earlier than the show was going to start, so I had to like just go kind of do something for a while and come back. That's the thing about this trip is just so much wasted time, and I don't know if I'd want to go through that again. And I've seen who I've wanted to see, and this it just there's too much wasted time. Last 2 days just waiting for being places way in the future. A lot of these places I didn't actually go into. I just thought they were kind of interesting, so I took a picture of them. So originally I based where I was going to eat off of this 40 cheap places to eat in Montreal list. And one of them was sort of like in this area. So I thought, that's cool. So I went to this place that has this sort of like, I guess, deep fried cheese with, I guess, something. I was expecting it to be like deep fried cheese with some meat in there or something. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I was pretty drunk. I sounded pretty drunk. And I think I offended them, and maybe they tried to take advantage of me. And like, I didn't, my understanding is it's gonna be like $10. I'm gonna paying like $20, and it seemed like they're burnt and maybe they're old, or I don't know what they were. And I got like kind of like a different number of them, and I purchased, and they had like restrictions I couldn't understand about how much to purchase. And I just hope that they were safe, because I had concerns that these things were safe, and that was probably the only thing that really went wrong in this whole thing, apart from just freezing, is I got this really crappy whatever the hell it was. Near the Fairmont Theater. So I started going down the road, kind of looking for a coffee place so I could go to the bathroom, or some scheme for doing that. And I guess, like, how there's Chinatown, this Park Street appears to be like Israel Town or something. Like there's just all these sort of Gentile people there, so that's cool. But eventually I had to go quite a ways down the street, and there was like this Tim Hortons at the very end of this Park Street. And what happens when I got out of the Tim Hortons is I took the wrong street back, because I was trying to get back to the theater. So after a while, I figured out that I wasn't on the street that I was supposed to be, and I had to just basically back up and then go down the proper street. But I was still there in time. I was the first person in line. So then I managed to watch a show, and that all turned out pretty well. And then I just had to basically kill, like 5 hours miserably cold and raining. And so I went here and there. I had kind of a mediocre kind of pizza thing that I think was okay. Yeah, so every now and then, stupid me, I get like my thumb on the edge of the camera of the smartphone, and so it messes up these pictures that are otherwise going to be have decent pictures. So this particular building has something I guess you would class as the way you build a bridge. Yeah, that's about what it's like. But I was wondering why there's like this green spot in the sky, but I think it's because there's like some building that they have a bunch of green lights, and I just guess it just lights up. That's my conclusion. I was just a little bit perplexed by that. Ray, let's get the hell out of here. So it's early in the morning. That's why it's dark like that. But I eventually did take the Ottawa LRT home, and it's making all kinds of weird noises. So they'll probably have to service that particular train, because it was sounding pretty bad.